The if statement is one of the most often employed coding constructs in most languages, and that is certainly true in C# as well. And this thing is often called the if-then statement, even though you may notice that the word then is not even used in C#. Now, the if statement provides us the ability to choose between executing two different blocks or more of code depending on the result of a Boolean expression. And we've obviously can change that Boolean expression various places in the code and then branch accordingly. Now, the syntax for the if statement is simple. However, what I want to touch on here to get you ready for the exam is the fact that most developers kind of form certain habits with using the if statement, and they always code the same way. And then when you get into the exam and you get under that pressure of trying to choose which particular syntax will work, you can't remember the other forms that will work out there. So let's look at the various forms of the if statement. First of all, straight up if syntax looks like this. If there's a Boolean expression, then on the next line, statement 1. Now, if this Boolean expression evaluates to true, statement 1 is executed, and then the code continues. If the Boolean expression is false, statement 1 is not executed, it's skipped over, and code execution continues at the next line of code. Now, the if-else syntax gives us a little more power, but this is the one you've got to watch for here, especially on the exam. You may be used to these, you may not. But notice we've got if and a Boolean expression, statement 1 terminate with a semicolon, else statement 2 terminate with a semicolon. Notice there are no brackets here. And the bottom line is, if there's only single statements, we're okay without the brackets. So, if the Boolean expression is true, in this instance, statement 1 is executed. If it's false, the Boolean expression, that is, statement 2 is executed. And then we continue processing from the next line of code. Now, you use code blocks in the if statement if you have more than one statement after the Boolean expression or after the else. So if you got more than one statement that should be executed, place all your statements in a block. And by a block, I'm talking about these braces here. So that's a block, beginning block and end block, right? And since we had two statements here, we had a block. And since we had two statements here, we had a block. So you can put obviously as many statements as you want. Now note, remember this and watch for this on the exam. Any variables that you declare within those statement blocks are scoped within that block. So if I create a variable x, inside this block right here, and then I tried to read x right here, it won't do it because x will go out of scope once we leave this block. So just keep that in mind. And then the cascading if statements, you'll see these from time to time. And this is where we're going to use ifs, else ifs, and else together. Notice, if x evaluates to 0 or if x is equal to 0, then the size is going to be set to extra small or x small, the size variable. Then we use else if x evaluates to 1, the size is small. Else if x evaluates to 2, then size is medium. You see the pattern here. And then we end down here with else. If none of these are found to be equal based on the Boolean expression here or based on the expression, then we're just going to use else and it'll fall down to extra large. So that's a cascading if statement. Pretty straightforward. You'll see these a lot of times written as switch statements in these conditions, but there's a lot of different ifs, ands, and buts there. But anyway, make sure you're comfortable with the different forms of the if statements. You could see any of them on the exam. And again, most of us get comfortable with one or two forms and just keep using them over and over and over and forget about the other syntax possibilities. So that's the if statement.